Oh, God.
Welcome to a world of thrills, a world of drama, of capes and tights, a world where death is a revolving door. Welcome to the Geek Matrix.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 288 of the Geek Matrix pod, covering comics for the week of April 1st. No joke. It is the Geek Matrix. Like I said, I am Josh, that guy down there. That is our librarian, Brandon.
Howdy.
The librarian.
Oh, God.
That
Don't
one
ever
doesn't
use that again.
That
Terrible.
doesn't work. Rob's gone. He's got family stuff to do this week, but we are here covering this week's books. JSA number 18, Poison Ivy number 43, Batman number 8, Absolute Superman number 18, and we're going to have Brandon go over DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man number 1.
Yes.
With a few honorable mentions this week. Adventures of Superman Book of L number 7, which was great. Batman Static Beyond number 5. Haven't gotten to that one yet, and I haven't gotten to Bizarro Year None either, but I am looking forward to that, as I am Batgirl number 18. And also, and finally, we've got Batman Superman World's Finest number 50. Sure to be a banger for fans of that book.
Yes, and I was also going to say, I don't know if I can't remember what the plan was, if we're going to go in detail on all the backups. So I had just
I would think, just about everything in that book is kind of a smush together. I figured.
Yeah, which is sort of why I was just going to kind of give a rundown for the honorable mentions of all of the backup stories, and then we would give the actual summary to the main story. So for the Superman Spider-Man special, we have the World's Finest short story written by Tom King with art by Jim Lee, Scott Williams as inker, and Alex Sinclair as a colorist, with Pat Brousseau and the letters. This is a Lois Lane, Mary Jane team up, but really more just like them getting to know each other. Then we have Pages by Christopher Priest with art by Daniel Sampier, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Willie Schubert. This is our Superboy Prime Amazing Spider-Man team up, but I have to add that this is the Black Suit Spider-Man, which, of course, Prime, being a huge comic book nerd, is aware of and definitely makes references to. We have Beyond the Cobwebs of Tomorrow, written and drawn by Sean Gordon Murphy, or just Sean Murphy, with colors by Simon Gao and letters by Ann World Design. This is our Superboy and Spider-Man 2099 team up, really more like Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes Superboy, but you get the idea. We have Jimmy Con Carnage, written by Matt Fraction, with art from Steve Lieber, Nathan Farrer, and Clayton Cowles. This is our Jimmy Olsen and Carnage team up, which still makes me laugh just thinking about it. The Bridge by Jeff Lemire, art by Rafa Sandoval, colors by Ulysses Areola and Becca Carey. This is our Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker team up. And before you ask, this is not John Kent, the boy. This is Jonathan Kent, like Clark's father, and Ben Parker as in Uncle Ben, not Scarlet Spider. Sorry if you were excited about that for a moment. We have Bias by Greg Rucka, with art by Nicholas Scott, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by Ariana Marr, which is our Daily Planet, Daily Bugle team up. But again, it's really more Lois Lane and J. Jonah Jameson getting a chance to interact in a very kind of talking heads way. And last, but certainly not least, Blind Date by Gail Simone, with art by Belen Ortega, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Lucas Catoni. This is our Power Girl and Punisher team up. Again, one that seems very random in concept, but actually kind of makes sense towards the end. And kind of want to see where it goes. I think they'd make a hell of a couple. So those are our backups. Check them out. I think all of them did a pretty solid job. Some were more entertaining than others. Some were just downright zany, but I had a blast. So those are all the honorables worth mentioning for Superman and Spider-Man. Do you forget we're on the air? You're also muted.
I must have hit a key or something. It wasn't muted on my mic. It was quiet. It was muted on my on the software. Let me turn this down real quick. Things are going to be a something. All right. So, did you have any news that you wanted to share this week?
I was trying to think of whether or not any kind of announcements had come through the pipeline. I'm drawing a blank, so I don't have any comics news. But I guess in terms of personal news, as Rob had mentioned last week, C2E2 was last weekend, and it was super fun, and I got the chance to go 2.5 days. I kind of went for the tail end of it on Friday after work, which is pretty fun. So yeah, classic comic convention of the scene now. All around a great time, some really great panels, and I got to meet a ton of cool people and ask questions, take pictures of some really outstanding cosplay, and spend way too much money on books that I don't regret buying, but will certainly leave a dent for the next couple weeks. One of which I just have to brag because it's just way too cool. And I was very pleased to get it at a fairly moderate price. This is Justice League number 4 from 1960, I think, or might be 1962. But this one is of particular significance because if you can remember your Justice League history, this is when Green Arrow officially joins the Justice League. Very iconic cover.
Oh, man.
Cited it a few times. But super cool. And I got a chance to read it
Very cool.
After I picked it up, and it's just a blast. I love these old Justice. I've been reading a lot of old Justice League lately. I don't know why that is, but this just was a great add to the collection. And I love this cover. How can you not? So super great acquisition. Actually, I think this has to be at least earlier than 1962 because it has the 10-cent price mark as opposed to the 12-cent, which I'm pretty sure was after 1962. So anyway, yeah, had to brag about that. There are actually a few that I could brag about, but I'm going to keep it contained for now so as not to make Josh horribly jealous. But I could.
Yeah, well, man, I appreciate that, but I bet you could. I can't wait to see what it looks like when your whole house is fully decorated and you've got all your stuff up on your walls. It's going to be nice.
Yes, sir.
Cool. I'll be able to see it in person in a year. Hopefully less.
Hopefully.
All right.
Trying to get you out here by the end of the summer.
That would be dope as fuck. Yeah, for sure. All right. So without any further news, we are going to get to the show then. And we'll kick it off with JSA number 18. Brandon's going to talk to us about it.
Sure thing. JSA number 18, written by Jeff Lemire, as usual, with art by Gavin Guidry, at least for our main story. Colors by Luis Guerrero and letters by Steve Wands. This is the final chapter in our JSA Year 1 flashback, hot off the cliffhanger of the previous issue where I keep forgetting the name of it, but that building that they were in, it's not Tyler Co., it's whatever that company was called, has been demolished, has been exploded by a bomb. Thankfully,
it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, it's gone now. Thankfully, Lantern was able to put up a sort of sphere around the rest of the superheroes, protecting them, but unfortunately could not protect all the falling debris. So Johnny Thunder is on the case and manages to turn all of it to snow. The rest of them, particularly Our Man, are worried about all of the nukes that are still in the tunnels, the ones that they'd seen in previous issues. So Flash says he's on the case, even though they're going to be right behind him, trying to defuse him because, Flash can only do so much, even at his speed. So Flash makes it to the tunnels and is getting ready to start disarming all the nukes when who should he run into but the Spectre? And we've had this omniscient narrator and Dr. Fate throughout the entire arc, kind of coaxing Corrigan to step up and accept his mantle of the Spectre. And now here he is, letting the Spectre out of the cage and becoming a hero. Green Lantern, Hawkman, and Hawkgirl are in pursuit of the Ultra Humanite, who is escaping via a plane. But Alan is kind of put out of action by some of the Ultra Humanites' mental powers, and really it's only Hawkman who's able to make it up to the ship, or at least close to the ship, before also getting mind whammied and being rescued by Dr. Fate. They're finally able to make it up to the actual plane with the assistance of Dr. Fate, and that's when they find that Baze, the man who Ultra Humanite had been possessing, or I guess at least using as a human body, as a vessel of some kind, is now dead, and the Ultra Humanite has been placed, or at least the brain of the Ultra Humanite has been placed in his more familiar ape body. Or is he a gorilla? I actually don't know. I should know that. The rest of the JSA are in the tunnels taking care of the Nazi sympathizers, while Spectre has a bit of an initial meeting with Johnny Thunder and Our Man, although they are briefly ambushed by Nazis as well. And as everything is kind of moving along, Flash has now gotten the nukes, and they're checking in with the rest of the JSA, seeing that Adam has disabled the other explosives. There's only one loose end to tie up, and it literally comes crashing to Earth in the form of Green Lantern, Hawkman, and Hawkgirl, as the Ultra Humanite has briefly overpowered them, and is not very impressed with Alan reaching into his mind and briefly getting control. But that's when the rest of the now fully come together super team are able to team up and take down the Ultra Humanite together, fight like a team. It's beautiful. They finally are working together and working well together, for one thing, with Alan delivering the final blow, and finally sealing the deal on this caper. So they have a nice little moment where Johnny in particular recognizes their ability as a team, and it seems like they're all in agreement except on a name. And that's when Alan suggests that if justice is what they are about, then they should be a justice society. It's a little bit cringe, but I'll accept it. So we have a little bit of an afterword where we check in with the remaining members, or sorry, not remaining members, but some of the other members. Hippolyta has other duties on Themyscira and decides to head back to where she is needed, although, as they mentioned, she will probably be back. Tune into your latest issue of All-Star Comics from the 1940s to see when Hippolyta returns. Will Everett doesn't initially join the team, but they
get right back. Keep going.
Oh yeah, Will Everett gets the feeling that he won't be joining the team, or sorry, he's not joining the team, but they get the feeling that he'll be doing amazing things because he's amazing, man. There you go. So he'll be back, I'm sure. And we finally arrive at a scene well known where they have moved into the brownstone courtesy of Sandman, courtesy of Wesley Dodds, and are now setting up the table, the iconic Justice Society of America table, and also getting ready to take that iconic picture, setting the stage a little bit for their character dynamics, as well as we have a little bit more bickering from Adam and Hawkman, but really just seeing how they all come together as a team and getting a nice final sentiment, noting that they had started as a team, but they shared something, shared experiences, or rather their shared experiences made them more than just a team. They became a family. And we end on a recreation of the iconic cover of All-Star Comics of all the members of the JSA sitting around the table. So I thought that was a lovely way to cap off JSA Year 1, bringing us right to the beginning of the JSA officially as a team with an homage to that cover of All-Star. And then we have the end of our backups, this short little prelude to the search for the Spectre, also written by Jeff Lemire, but art by Joey Vasquez, colors by John Cowich, and letters by Steve Wands. Another short one reiterating the basics of the last issue, only now we have Stargirl and Atom Smasher rejoining the team and sort of going along with the plans that Jade had mentioned in the previous issue, where they not only want to expand the ranks of the JSA to bring in the newer generation, but also create something rather unique with the JSA.
Something more.
Now, not just being a training center for young heroes, but a school as well. Very X-Men inspired. So that'll be interesting to see. But Alan, sort of towards the end, thinking of the young heroes, asks, where's Kid Eternity? And our last sort of moment in the issue is seeing Kid Eternity in the memory sort of area in front of that iconic JSA table, being possessed by the Spectre, and after being possessed, declaring herself to be the Spectre, and also stating that vengeance is coming. So ominous things to come for the JSA, but I thought this was a lovely way to cap off this short little JSA Year 1. Just a fun little adventure of seeing how they all kind of came together, and seeing the circumstances that brought them in contact with each other over the past 6 issues has been very interesting. So it'll be good to get back to the present, but I hope that this story will be kind of like a nice little touchstone to come back to. You know, if you want to read a story of how the JSA came together, this is it, you know? So I think that's nice.
Yep.
It's a fun standalone story in addition to serving a actual story purpose. So I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Very nice. Also have to shout out this cover from Dave Johnson. He always kills it, but this full shot of the JSA looks
good stuff right there too. Perfect timing. Good shit. Good shit. Man, let me tell you, I thought the first part was great. The way the narration brought them together. I mean, sure, the panels did too, the artwork, obviously, but it just walked us through them not acting like a unit, but like them feeling themselves becoming a team.
Yeah.
Plus the extras were cool, like Amazing Man showing up. That I dug that. And it ending with that classic JSA shot was absolutely chef's kiss perfect. I honestly almost don't want to stop reading Lemire's classic JSA. I could continue reading whatever this could turn out to be. It's just that good. But that brings me to the modern JSA in the backup. I don't know how I feel about the JSA becoming a school, but I am glad to see the lost children brought up again and not pushed to the wayside, except, you know, like handpicked. Hey, we can use Mr. Terrific Skip, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an unexpected way to make that happen. I guess we'll have to see what happens with it. I'm open-minded and not assuming that it's going to turn into TTA. Now, I know how I feel about Kid Eternity becoming the Spectre, and it's, oh shit. What does that even mean with Kid Eternity's powers being possessed by the Spectre? Like, what can the Spectre do now? And
probably, I mean, if Kid Eternity's powers are to, I always loved this concept, but bring historical figures back from the dead, right, and use them as sort of an aid, and I think also use their powers as well. I assume they're going to get a hell of a boost, you know, with the Spirit of Vengeance being fused with Kid Eternity. So it'll probably be super powered JSA heroes, but maybe you'll even get a super powered Ben Franklin or something. I don't know. You know, super powered Genghis Khan.
Cool as shit.
Yeah.
Who's a member of the JSA that joins later on?
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, like we've got our classic, there's other. I was trying to think of people who they could become. That's all. It's
Oh,
not important.
I mean, well, yeah, there's plenty of choices. Obviously.
Excuse me.
You have, well, I guess you just have to think of yeah, of who in the JSA is not alive anymore. So yeah, so obviously you have Wildcat who died recently.
Mhm.
I don't know how much power you'd get from Hourman or Sandman, given that they rely on tools or enhancements of some kind. But Starman might be a good one. The
Oh
original
yeah,
Black Canary, you'd certainly get some great fighting skills. Amazing Man, obviously. So there's definitely some options, you know.
that'd be pretty cool, man. That'd be really cool.
Mm.
Interested to see the original Doctor Fate.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, wow. All right, Doctor Fate, the Spectre with Doctor Fate's powers. That could be a ball of wax that you want to dodge. But so altogether, the story, I'm digging it. I'm a bigger fan of the art in the front of the book than I was in the last part, but the last part is awesome. So the first part is just fucking dynamite. I'm in on this. We'll see about the school, but I mean, 18 issues of JSA, and I haven't had a problem with one of them yet. 8.5 out of 10 for sure. And that takes us up to the first issue. I'll be walking us through Poison Ivy number 43, written by G. Willow Wilson, with art drawn by Jaime Infante and colored by Reef Brianto, with letters from Hassan Atmane Elhau, and a cover by Jessica Fong. So we start out with the sad breakup between Harley and Ivy, where we see that it's because Ivy is more concerned about what she can do as mayor so much that she's worried that Harley could give her the wrong kind of attention. That's horrible. The rest of the story that's horrible, but it matches with what Ivy's been going on with. And yeah. The rest of the story is Ivy taking a corrupt city contractor down into the sewers to see what he thinks about a bid. He's an executive. And while she's down there, a mysterious message pops up on the wall, a quote from the Hollow Crown speech from Shakespeare's Richard Part 2. I'm just kidding. I was hoping to see a reaction face.
I don't know Shakespeare, so
and you know enough to know it's not called Richard Part 2.
Honestly, you might have fooled me. I know there was the third, but shit, maybe there were two others.
That's awesome. For within the Hollow Crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court. And the rest of the line that's not there is, and their antics sit scoffing a state and grinning at his pomp. So it's about the downfalls of fucking power, basically. And she also shows him where his company has it so that toxic waste is pumped into the sewers and then kills him by growing a tree called the Dracana Draco, the dragon tree. And it can survive in complete darkness. It gobbles him up, and now he's got to live for the rest of his life right where that toxic waste is being dumped out at. Fun times. It ends with Ivy walking with Undine in the park looking for a new contractor, and ends with the Hill showing up in the middle of Robinson Park to tell Ivy that he's scared and the whole Parliament of the Green wants to go to war. I'm going to say first that I appreciate the more detailed art because we're in a city, and I appreciate it more because it hasn't abandoned the aesthetic of the book overall. Not once. We've changed artists a couple of different times, and we've always stayed close to the general feel of what we've had with Marcia Takara in the Ivy book, and I fucking love that. This is good stuff. And the story is something that I am completely head over heels for. Ivy is mayor, and what she'll fight in herself as she is, what we're going to see her do. Thankfully, no mention of Vandal Savage, as we will see in the upcoming issue of Not My Batman. I give this a score of 8.75 out of 10.
Yeah, no, this is another solid installment. Don't have too much to say that wasn't already said, aside from it. Sucks to see a rather turbulent breakup between Harley and Ivy. So, like I said in our last review, just call me when they get married so we can be done with this melodrama.
Yeah, I definitely hope they get back together after shit settles down.
I'm just like, this back and forth, it grows old. I'm like, at this point, we all know where they're headed. It's always until some writer puts them back together. So at this point, just let them fucking marry and have some plant kids or something. I don't know.
But look, man, if we if we weren't at issue 43 of a completely flawless fucking run for the not completely flawless, but like one of the best runs in DC period, 43 issues. They break up Harley and Ivy at 42 issues. But you know what? It was the way they did it, the motivation, the little drops that we're getting because of Ivy's story. And by God, if somebody would have broken up Ivy and Harley in any other kind of way, I'd be pissed, and I'd be probably like really vocal about it, like I was when Sam Humphries did it. I will never forget him having her kiss Booster Gold.
That makes one of us. I had completely forgotten that.
But in any case, this is good stuff. I'm with it all the fucking way, all the way. All right. What was the score you gave it?
I didn't yet, but I gave this one
I'm sorry.
7.5 out of 10.
I interrupted you. Next time I interrupt you, say, "Hey, fucker, you interrupted me."
It's okay. But yeah, that's Poison Ivy. Shall we stay in Gotham City and make our way on to the next one?
We sure. Brandon will give us Not My Batman number 8.
If you say so. This is Batman number 8, written by Matt Fraction, with art by Ryan Sook, colors by Tomu Murray, and letters by Clayton Cowles. This is a classic 3-perspective book where we have 3 different, I guess, scenarios all happening at the same time, all kind of weaving. So I'll do my best to try and give service to each of them. I am blanking on the boy's name, but the boy we met in issue 3 or 4, who videotaped the GCPD, has been palling around with his friend Ned Leeds, who I'm also forgetting the name of. I'm so sorry. I really should be paying better attention to the names, but these are newer characters, so you'll forgive me. They're making their way around Gotham City, and it's really the sort of older reporter breaking down his philosophy on Gotham City and on change to the younger one. In particular, noting his own transformation from trying to view things with a sense of nuance, and I guess you could say looking at things from a morally gray perspective, to understanding that while the motivating factors may be a little bit more nuanced, the things that people do are either good or bad. They either hurt people or they don't. So that's one sort of scene that we're given back and forth, and continues to set the
Doiby
for there. Our next scene focuses on our very own Commissioner Vandal Savage having a meeting with Mayor Poison Ivy. Hey, feels like we
is the kid's name Doiby? Is that Doiby?
No, his name is not Doiby. No. Doiby is a very different character, as Rob would be here to excitedly chip in about.
Well, that's what he just asked in chat. Are you talking about Doiby?
Am I talking about Doiby? I don't believe so, no.
It was sent just a minute ago. Well, there you go, Rob. There's the answer. Nope.
Yeah.
Definitely not talking about Doiby.
Unless his name is Doiby, which I highly doubt it would be, but maybe it could be. Again, I'm not remembering at the moment. Oh, wait, no, it was Houston. What am I talking about? They literally say it in one of these panels. Yeah, so it's not You have too much Green Lantern on the brain, Rob, as usual. His name is not Doiby. I don't think any child born in the 21st century would be given such a nickname. Anyway, our next scene featuring Vandal Savage with Mayor Poison Ivy is essentially Vandal Savage making a case for Gotham City to go to war with the Batman, giving justification saying that if this city is to maintain its lawful reputation, really honing in on the reputation of the GCPD, of Gotham's finest, it cannot leave its work in the hands of vigilantes. And given that that's what Batman and his ilk are, it just wouldn't do. So his sort of plan, this Operation Peregrine that Ivy has dug up, is essentially to do that, to have the GCPD go on war and categorically state there is no place for Batman in Gotham City. Our last sort of feature, and I would argue our main feature, is essentially a conversation between Alan and Batman following Alan being jumped by some street thugs, only for Alan to somewhat discreetly use his green ring to tie them up before Batman steps in and says, "Hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee?" And they do that. They do exactly that, and have a, at least in my opinion, rather interesting conversation on Batman's mindset, but more specifically, Vandal Savage's intentions in Gotham City. And this to me was probably the most interesting aspect, is wondering why exactly Vandal has stuck around in Gotham. Like, we had our justification with the whole Gotham War stuff that we don't have to go into. But something that I've been thinking about is, after all of that, Vandal, who's always had kind of grand ambitions, or seemingly has always had grand ambitions, why stick around in Gotham City? What's the goal? What's the end goal? And this was kind of an interesting analysis of why that might be, that maybe it is for his own survival, or maybe his own sense of revenge, and kind of talking about how Vandal's mindset is a lot different, him being millennia old. So a very interesting conversation between Batman and Alan Scott, which I think ends on a rather nice note, with Batman providing some encouraging words for an upcoming project that Alan is working on. So as Batman leaves and Alan is also headed on his own way, he notices something rather strange in a newspaper box, opens up the newspaper only to find some kind of discreet paper called the Gotham Eye, with a large picture of Batman and Robin, and the headline being GCPD versus Batman and Robin, presumably from the young boy Houston and the older grizzled news reporter working on this story together and trying to spread the truth of the GCPD's war on Batman. Which, I mean, I don't know how much you need to spread the truth. You can just look outside. Like, they're not being subtle about it, but that's pretty much the entire issue. A series of conversations across different perspectives, as I mentioned. Now, Rob isn't here, but he very much did not like this issue at all. And so I went into that with kind of a perspective of, is it really going to be that boring? Like, geez, if it's just that disappointing, I'm worried I won't like it either. But I guess I'll be in the minority here, because I'm assuming Josh probably did not enjoy this issue. I really enjoyed it. I one thing that he had mentioned is, you can enjoy slice of life conversation issues. I'm a sucker for that, right? Like, I don't mention it all that often, but one of my favorite superhero issues of all time is, I think it's the New Teen Titans number 7 or 8. No superheroics. It's just a day in the life of the Titans doing various civilian things. And it is phenomenal. And I love stuff like that, because it's not just getting to see them do more mundane things. It's also how the conversation is carried out, and how that sort of lends itself to really interesting character dynamics and development. Now, I won't say that this was great for development necessarily, but I just really like the dynamics, and I loved seeing Alan and Batman kind of talk back and forth about what they know about Vandal Savage and how they kind of understand his perspective, as well as Vandal's own point of view, where he's making the case to Ivy for why Gotham City so needs to have Batman out of the city and needs to be reliant upon the GCPD. And I will say, I do actually think of all the characters, Fraction has found a very nice voice for Vandal Savage. Reminds me a lot of Vandal in DC 1 Million. Like the Vandal that I'm always more entertained by is one who's a little bit more megalomaniacal. He's like, if I had another comparison, it's like the way that Kieran Gillen writes Mr. Sinister, but not as funny, not as campy. Like if he had all of his megalomaniacal plans and his ego, but he wasn't as, I don't know, flamboyant, if that makes sense.
Doesn't tell jokes.
Yeah, it's not as campy. And I that works for me. I love a Vandal Savage who's got a little bit more going on than just being some kind of would-be world conqueror. So that really did it for me. And I think as a stage setting issue, it did a nice job. In terms of progression, I don't think it moved much forward. But, you know, it at least has me a little bit more curious about where things can go. So admittedly, I'm kind of like, this issue feels like maybe I'm kind of back in. Like I'm curious where things will play out. I'm curious how certain dynamics will all fall. So yeah, I gave this an 8 out of 10. Honestly, really, I don't want to say really enjoyed it, but found it quite interesting in its approach.
All right. Well, summarizing what Rob put out, he does say that it's boring. He doesn't mind a slice of life conversation issue, but that's pretty much everything that we've got for 8 issues. With some weird shit happening, like Tim quitting and Damian spoiling Batman's identity. If not for an exceptionally intelligent doctor not picking it up. And he's confused how people love this but hate Tom Taylor's Detective Comics. Blows his mind. Well, let me say, okay, so this happens in the comic. Batman sits down in a diner in costume with a plainclothes Alan Scott to have coffee and talk in a normal tone about villain shit. Batman asks Alan Scott to teach him how to deal with Vandal Savage running the GCPD, which seemed like a weird choice to me. Scott and Batman simultaneously saying, "You don't have to be crazy to live here, but it helps," is not exactly what I would call characteristically Batman. Batman not realizing that this is personal from Savage when all Savage has done is try to attack him. That doesn't make any sense. Ivy signing on to go to war against Batman with Vandal Savage while she's trying to get so much done and breaking a bit under the pressure with the breakup of Harley. The newspaper at the end shows, if I'm not mistaken, Drake and not Damian. None of it makes any sense. The art is great. I like the art. Rob doesn't. I do. The rest, I think, though, is straight baloney. I don't have a problem with a more relaxed Batman, but it's got to make sense to me, and this just doesn't. The rest is straight baloney. Now, I mean, I'll eat baloney, but only if it's fried, and Batman don't get high. I enjoyed the narrative by the two Gothamites, but that's all. I gave it a 6 out of 10, which did a little bit more justice than Rob's score did, but then again, I didn't mind the art.
Fair enough. Hey, that's why we're here. We don't always agree.
That's why we're here. Give voices to the many. Give voices to the masses. And speaking of, well, there isn't a transition there. Absolute Superman number 18, written by Jason Aaron with art inside and out, drawn by Rafa Sandoval and covered by Ulysses Ariola with lettering from Becca Carey. A new story kicks off that begins in ancient Egypt over 3,000 years ago. It's the story of Teth Adam as a boy. Raised in slavery, his parents killed as they prayed to the gods. He decided that he was going to seek them out. One day, he escapes, and he runs right into the Wizard of the Sands of Eternity. Not Rock, Sands. which turns out to be a group of brainiacs. Whoa. They tried to decide what horrible thing to do to him. And then they said, let's try out that new thing from the black hole that we don't quite understand yet, if for nothing else, to see how he dies. And they all think that's a great idea. They tell him that he can have anything he wants as long as he says the magic word. We all know what that is. We switch over to Kal-El now in Kansas, who is, please, who is abracadabra. Kal-El is over in Kansas, and he is keeping currently Parasite as a pet, letting him feed off him a little bit at a time and keeping him sated. Meanwhile, Talia and a pretty rough-looking Ra's al Ghul are together. She's ready to enact their master plan, and instead, Ra's starts destroying the machine. Lois is on her way there to kill Ra's for murdering her dad, and Superman shows up just in time to stop it. Another person shows up too, a man named Steel, dressed in a work jumpsuit and what kind of looks like a welder's mask, carrying a hammer, shows up to kill Ra's too, after he messes up a whole team of peacekeepers. Talia fights her dad as he tries to stop her, and she goes too far. He tries to remind her what they've got buried there, but it's too late. The seal is breached. The proverbial door is open. The captive in the cage is loose, and it is none other than absolute King Shazam. This was cool. I'm so glad. I'm so damn glad to see that Ra's didn't just flip back to being a bad guy. That really let me down last month. So this was cool. The absolute steel is cool. The fact that Black Adam is Shazam is cool. The art is fantastic. There's a whole bunch of new stuff to get into with Talia versus Ra's, Clark versus Lois, and the introduction of both King Shazam and Steel. I continue to be hooked on this. And both the story and the incredible art and colors in this book, month after month, making no exception here. It continues throughout this issue. It was a great read, man. 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, no, 8 out of 10 for me. Standout definitely being the origin of, well, seems like origin of King Shazam.
Yeah.
Really grisly stuff, but also a lot of little Easter eggs that might be interesting. I've seen people speculating that the stranger who shows up is our version of the absolute version of the Phantom Stranger, but also maybe Raven. So there's a lot of cool little connections there as well. But really just loved seeing that grisly origin of his. Wondering how that's all going to play out when King Shazam comes face to face with Superman. So super excited. Not in love with the steel design. That big,
it's a little weird, man.
Yeah, the big red window kind of makes him look like a robot, but I think that this is just like a very initial appearance, and he'll probably have a more customized design down the road. So that'll be cool. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for me.
Right on, man. All right. And we got the brief rundown of the honorable mentions in the honorable mentions of the backups that were in this book. Now Brandon's going to talk to us about the main story, a story that a lot of people have been waiting for, some even more so than our inaugural crossover Batman and Deadpool. Brandon, you want to tell us about this one?
Well, I will just say that I am absolutely one of those people who was maybe even a little bit more excited about this. I mean, yes, you had the Grant Morrison doing, I don't know why my camera shut off. The Grant Morrison doing Batman Deadpool, but like Superman Spider-Man is a classic. I mean, I have my issue right here. Original 1976, I think. And it's funny, you actually get an homage to this back cover in the issue. So I love this issue. It's just such a phenomenal first meeting of Superman and Spider-Man. And this feels like a very fun, if short, spiritual successor to that, or sequel to that, if you will. But this issue was written by none other than Mr. Mark Waid, perhaps the defining voice of Superman. I was going to say this generation, but he's been on Superman for quite some time. So maybe in the 21st century, I don't know.
Did a couple generations.
Sure. With art by Jorge Jimenez, I would also say definitely is an artist of this generation. Colors by Tom Murray and letters by Tom Napolitano. The story can be summarized very briefly, very simply. I don't know about briefly, but basically, Otto Octavius, pissed off because the world does not recognize his genius, has a wonderful team up with Brainiac who will give him everything that he desires, but for a small price. Otto must help Brainiac offload a bunch of contaminating data onto the unsuspecting minds of the humans of Earth, and in return, Brainiac will make Otto renowned across the stars. So Otto decides to pitch in his genius to help Brainiac do exactly that. In the meantime, we check in with Peter Parker and Clark Kent, who are meeting up, at least for a little bit, to get some information on some Star Labs experiments, before finding out that some of the secretive materials that they were using were not of this world. They were using kryptonite, which obviously Clark finds very alarming. So he decides to suit up as Superman, with Pete joining in tow. I should also mention that, much like in the original crossover, they know each other, or at the very least, they coexist in the same universe. So it's a nice little nod to the fact that we're acknowledging this kind of shared universe where the Marvel and DC characters just kind of know each other. So that's nice, and makes for some fun antics. As they start to get on the case, Superman is momentarily affected by what appears to be the normal exposure of kryptonite, only there's no kryptonite nearby. And it seems like the way that it's being transmitted is a little bit irregular. And that's when he notices, or rather Pete and Superman have a moment where they notice that they're not carrying any kryptonite nearby. They're actually broadcasting it along with whatever Brainiac is trying to offload, but they won't find that out until later. So they're basically trying not to get infected by the signal that's being broadcast to them, and they're making their way around Metropolis, trying to save people all the way, before they finally make their way to Brainiac's ship, or at least Clark does for the meantime. And of course, who should he run into but Otto Octavius with kryptonite-juiced tentacles, which is a crazy visual, but also looks cool as hell. At the same time, Spider-Man finds himself facing off against Brainiac, though he kind of gets tossed around a little bit. As Superman is fighting with Otto Octavius, of course, Superman in classic fashion tries to appeal to Otto's good side, mentioning the fact that he had actually written an article about Otto's achievements many years ago and still remembers that, or at least states that Clark Kent wrote an article about his achievements. And Superman remembers that, so as not to blow his secret identity. Otto is momentarily surprised by this, and that is at least able to give Clark the moment to get the drop on him and knock him out. At the same time, while Pete was able to bring down, or at least Pete was battling Brainiac, Brainiac then decides to bring down a bunch of rubble and escapes from this host that he's basically been using. I think it mentions that like he's accessing it through a Brainiac host, leaving Pete under a bunch of rubble. But unfortunately, Pete needs to pull this lever to stop the Brainiac ship from crashing, as now that Brainiac is disconnected, no one's piloting the ship. Pete, of course, being trapped under a bunch of rubble, it's not really in the best situation to do that. So tries to shoot off some webbing to get the lever to move. And of course, the old Parker luck strikes and he's out of webbing at that precise moment. So he has to pull a very classic Spider-Man move, lift a bunch of rubble, channel all of his strength from within and push the rubble off so he can escape, and manage to pull the lever in a nice homage to that classic Spider-Man scene that we all know. Thankfully, managing to stop the ship in time and allowing Superman to slow its descent. Pete then, of course, passes out due to the exertion. We cut back to Clark Kent and Peter Parker in the offices of the, I almost said the Daily Planet. Oh, wait, yeah, no, it is the Daily Planet. I'm sorry. In the office of the Daily Planet, where Pete then delivers the photos to Perry White. And Perry, shocked by the quality, says, you could actually teach Jimmy Olsen a few lessons, which I'm sure Pete was very thrilled by. Pete then gets his voucher for selling the photos, although he notices Clark is kind of giving him the cold shoulder, as he had in an earlier scene, sort of asked about what was going on. And that's when Clark reveals that he'd been thinking about something and wondering why, after all these years, Pete had allowed J. Jonah Jameson to publish all this slander about Spider-Man without him doing something. And Pete, of course, in classic fashion, replies, well, the ultimate joke is the fact that I basically got J. Jonah Jameson to pay for me to go to college. And when you think about it, yeah, he kind of did. So I guess the joke really is on him. They decide to go and suit up, go out for patrol one last time. But first, they got to stop by the Superman Museum, which, of course, Spider-Man, with his horrible reputation, is shocked by. And that's where our main story ends, with that kind of scene of them swinging off together. And then, of course, a wonderful pinup recreation by Jorge Jimenez of the iconic back cover of Superman versus Spider-Man. So this was great. This was, I don't know. I mean, it was just, I was smiling from ear to ear the whole time, and the art was beautiful. And it was just, I feel like I don't have much to say about it because it's an issue that speaks so well for itself. Like, it's such a tightly executed, just fun team up. Like, you don't really need anything else to say. And while I love the kind of meta-ness of the Grant Morrison Batman Deadpool crossover, and even the Zeb Wells side of it was, had its fun moments. This was just classic comic book fun. Well executed, great art, super fun dynamics, even get some fun callbacks to iconic Spider-Man moments. It just has it all. I don't know. No notes, I'll say. No notes. So this one gets an 8.75 for me, and I'm almost tempted to give it higher because I was a little worried. It's like Mark Waid, not the greatest reputation writing Spider-Man, at least in my opinion, brought in during a very awkward period. And well, I will say there's one exception. I'm one of those people that actually likes, oh God, what is that book called? The graphic novel that he did with Teresa Parker. It'll come to me later. It might be called Full Circle. I think it's called no, it's not Full Circle. Whatever it is. I actually like that one. And that was like the one time where I was like, maybe Mark Waid can write Spider-Man without making him seem like a total child. So I don't know. This is giving me hope. Like, it seems like Mark Waid is full in on DC, so I doubt he's going back to Marvel anytime soon, if ever again. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe he can write Spider-Man, and it's not totally embarrassing. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, 8.75 out of 10. This was a great one. The whole package was great, and loved all the short stories that we mentioned earlier. But the main story, the star of the show, if you will, was just phenomenal, and I had a great time. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add to what you said. It's pretty much what I was expecting. Not just from the main story, but from all of the backups too. I mean, except for that last one, I wasn't expecting Power Girl and Punisher to hook up, but I mean, brown chicken, brown cow, all overall, the art's pretty darn good. The stories were enjoyable. I had a good time with it. And while a lot of the time we see Marvel and DC represented as being in different universes, Clark and Spider-Man, like Spider-Man just existing in DC's New York City is something I'm totally cool with. Like all the way. I gave this an 8 out of 10. I two thumbs up. I enjoyed it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, indeed. And that leads us to our top 3. I can go ahead and go first there. My my top 3 are Absolute Superman for third place. Second place is JSA number 18. And first place is going to go to Poison Ivy 43. I thought that was amazing. And then my favorite moment is going to be this one, where we see, I didn't write down the dialogue, but, well, you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility. In response to Brainiac remarking on his reflexes. I fucking loved that. Corny as it might be, I don't care. It was awesome.
I agree.
And that was my favorite moment. What about your top 3 and favorite?
In third place, again, to the kind of disagreement of the rest of the guys, I have Batman. In second place, JSA, and in first place, got to give it to Superman Spider-Man. That was the highlight of, well, I guess 2 weeks ago now, but really just getting back to read it again, going back to read it again, it was just super fun, and I had a great time. My favorite moment, a little bit hard to choose. There were a lot of great moments this week, but I'm a sucker for a callback. And there's actually there's multiple choices that I could make in terms of great callbacks, but it's just such an iconic cover. It's hard for me not to go with it. So the final page of JSA number 18, the recreation of the iconic cover, All-Star Comics number 3, was my pick for this week. I love seeing that homaged, and it was great seeing it again.
Hell yeah, man. Hard to argue with it. It sure as hell looked great. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That leads us to the last part of the show, my friend. And that is the covers. I don't know. See, normally Jessica Fong for me is like just a dead ass giveaway, and then is that McKellion in here?
That's Jorge Jimenez, yeah.
Jorge Jimenez. Well, both of those are at the top of my list. But I think that it's just so hard to choose between these two, man. I got to give it to JSA. That is just such a fucking badass looking cover. It really is. It's so good.
It's pretty good. Well, that was my pick. So,
well, there you go.
Bummer.
JSA gets cover of the week.
Yeah. Well, I will say, in the interest of having different picks, I won't go with JSA since you already went with that one. And we'll instead go with the main cover of Superman Spider-Man, which honestly, super great. There were a lot of great variant covers out there, some of which I kind of wish I could have picked up, but I went with the standard A cover, and honestly, I think it's super iconic.
This is the A cover as well, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's the main cover. That's what I meant.
Groovy. Awesome. Well, all right, guys, and thank you, everybody. That is it.
That's short episode this week, but I'm sure
we'll really is
for another 3-hour behemoth. There wasn't a lot to argue about, honestly. You know,
there really wasn't a lot to argue about. They're Batman. I mean, we know that's a lost cause on me. So, gotta remember when that wasn't the case. Well, that's sad. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll appreciate it. We will eventually get our shit together and be able to get back up on Spotify or not. Who knows? But we'll let you know as we do. We're getting out of here, so you'll have to as well. Please. It's creepy if you stay. Be careful out there, and remember, in the Geek Matrix, everybody has a home. In the Geek Matrix, you